Let's dive into Daniel Kahneman's groundbreaking book that reveals how our minds really work. Here's a quick test. If you meet a shy, helpful man who loves order and structure, would you guess he's a librarian or a farmer? Your gut says librarian, but statistics tell a different story. There are actually 20 farmers for every male librarian in America. This is exactly what Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman discovered. Our thinking has serious flaws that lead to poor decisions and biased judgments. Kahneman organizes his insights into 5 key areas that build on each other. We'll explore 2 mental systems, then examine thinking shortcuts and biases, overconfidence, how we make choices, and finally our 2 different selves. Everything starts with understanding that we have 2 completely different ways of thinking. Kahneman calls them systems, but treats them like fictional characters with distinct personalities. This makes them easier to understand. All mental processing splits into 2 modes: fast automatic responses and slow effortful activities. When you instantly recognize an angry face, that's System 1 working at lightning speed. But solving 17 times 24 requires System 2's deliberate step-by-step calculation. Think of your brain as having 2 sides, one lightning fast and intuitive, the other methodical and logical. System 1 operates automatically, while System 2 requires conscious control and effort. System 1 constantly generates intuitions, impressions, and feelings that feed our conscious awareness. But System 1 also creates systematic errors, biased judgments, and inappropriate reactions. Only System 2 can follow rules, compare multiple options, and make deliberate choices between alternatives. Our automatic threat responses are deeply embedded in evolutionary memory from millions of years of survival. Making serious judgments demands holding multiple ideas in mind while integrating knowledge. That's exhausting work. System 1 believes everything it hears, while System 2 questions and double-checks information. System 1's associative nature leads to wrong conclusions, confirmation bias, and overestimating dramatic events. We develop clear patterns of what's normal, which shape how we interpret the present and expect the future. The question, how many animals did Moses take into the ark, tricks us because Moses and Noah are both biblical figures. Good mood, intuition, and creativity all cluster together as System 1 components. When information feels easy to process, we're less likely to think carefully and accurately about it. Now let's examine the mental shortcuts that create predictable errors in our thinking. These thinking shortcuts, called heuristics, systematically bias people who rely too heavily on System 1. We desperately want everything to have a cause, but this blinds us to truly random events. During World War II, people thought unharmed areas in London meant German spies were there, but the bombing was actually random. We often assume small samples accurately represent the bigger picture, making the world seem simpler than it is. 3 successful films don't prove the new CEO has a hot hand. It's too early to tell. Any number you hear first becomes an anchor that pulls all your later estimates toward it. Like a boat held down by its anchor, your estimates get trapped near that first number you encountered. To break free from anchoring, Kahneman suggests literally leaving the room when someone makes an outrageous offer. Your personal experiences feel much more important and memorable than similar things that happen to other people. Minor events can spiral through media coverage and public attention into full-blown panic responses. Terrorists exploit this perfectly, using media repetition and vivid images to activate our System 1 fears. The third major flaw in human thinking is our dangerous overconfidence about what we know. Strangely, it's easier to build a convincing story when you have less information and fewer pieces to fit together. Our illusion of understanding the past creates a false confidence that we can predict the future. After the 2008 crisis, many people claimed they knew it was coming, not thought or felt, but knew. Hindsight bias makes us reconstruct our memories and forget how surprised we actually were. Experts with the most knowledge are often the least reliable because they're dangerously overconfident. Psychologist Philip Tetlock studied 284 experts making predictions and found they performed poorly across the board. Human intuition fails where mathematical formulas succeed with remarkable accuracy. Economist Orley Ashenfelter created a wine price formula using temperature and rainfall that's over 90% accurate. People resist using algorithms even though they consistently outperform human judgment. Optimism brings confidence and action, but also creates blind spots, taking credit for success while denying responsibility for failure. How we make choices involves much more than simple calculations of gain and loss. Kahneman's prospect theory improves on older utility theory by adding reference points and loss aversion. The fourfold pattern maps how we handle high and low probability situations involving either gains or losses. These 4 panels show our different attitudes. Casino chips for likely gains, distress for likely losses, excitement for long shots, and lottery tickets for small chances. The pattern explains why we buy insurance, play lotteries, avoid risks with big gains, and take dangerous gambles with likely losses. Regret happens when we realize there were alternatives to our choice, and this emotion biases us in many situations. Mr. Brown, who never picks up hitchhikers but did once and got robbed, feels worse than Mr. Smith, who always does it. Fear of future regret can paralyze our decisions and poison our enjoyment of life. Finally, we need to understand that we're actually 2 different selves with conflicting perspectives. Your experiencing self lives in the moment, while your remembering self evaluates everything after the fact. A scratch symphony disc at the end makes people say the whole experience was ruined, but that's just memory talking. The experiencing self has no voice, while the remembering self keeps score and controls what we learn. Our memories of past experiences determine future choices, creating a cycle of repeated behavior patterns. In Kahneman's cold water experiment, people chose between a 60-second trial and a 90-second trial with slight warming. 2 hands in different colored water represent the choice between 60 seconds of pain versus 90 seconds with a better ending. Amazingly, 80% chose to repeat the longer 90-second trial, despite experiencing 30 extra seconds of unnecessary pain. The remembering self ignored duration completely, focusing only on how the experience ended rather than total suffering. This split shows our fundamental divide, the present experiencing self versus the past-focused remembering self. Simply recognizing System 1 traps doesn't automatically help us apply System 2 solutions in real situations. Under stress, we react immediately and involuntarily, letting System 1 dominate when we most need careful thinking. Kahneman wrote this book for critics, not decision makers, because it's easier to spot others' mistakes than our own. Even when we can't hear our own doubts, we can predict how others will react, and that often saves us from making unnecessary mistakes.